Ready then.
Hey guys, my name is Luka and this is my evaluation. So the first question was, in what ways does your media product use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? For this, I had two conventional covers, well, not exactly conventional, but popular covers from NME and Kerrang. The NME one is more conventional in its approach, while the Kerrang has some unconventional features. NME has its masthead at the top, which is conventional, and the barcode at its bottom right corner, which is conventional as well. It has a clear color scheme. The reverse S shape made in its eye float is a convention as well. And additionally, it is crowded with cover lines. In contrast, Kerrang is a bit more unconventional because it has such a variety of colors in it. There's more than 4 colors used. There's a use of a group shot for its cover image, which is very unconventional. But also the direct eye contact they have is conventional. And in this, Liam Gallagher looking away from the camera is quite unconventional, but this is one I adopted for my own front cover. Okay, so you can see here my model Gillis is standing in a similar position to Liam Gallagher, but flipped. The masthead is situated on the top, and the barcode is located conventionally on the bottom right. I made the masthead crash, so it really stood out through bright red color, capital letters, large impact font, and noise drop shadow. And it really is the first thing that stands out to the reader. Additionally, the use of a button is quite conventional as well in this approach. And caution tape suggests behind-the-scenes content throughout the magazine. Additionally, there are many cover lines and a large kicker to create a crowded cover following the examples of NME and Kerrang. The structure and layout conventional, and vice versa. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about the gap in the market for this magazine. What I thought was to make a magazine that whose focus was rock, but concentrated on unveiling emerging rock artists. So I used NME which is the authority on what's current, and Fader is an American magazine, an independent one, that focuses on what's next. And so the aim of Thrash was to create a rock magazine that followed conventions like NME, but that catered more towards revealing upcoming artists. And Gillis, Geary and Stockholm Syndrome were 2 of the artists I used on my front cover to support that. So this is my double-page spread. It's quite conventional. On the left-hand side is its main image. On the right-hand side is the main body of text. The article title is bold, big, has capitals to draw the reader's attention. There's a drop cap here, and there's a slug here, which is very conventional as well. There's a pulpo here as well, an anchor, and a page number there. And also I use a fillet here, but I used it in a way to make it as a fact file. It diverted from the main body of text, but is related to it as well. It's a fact file about the main model, and has various details like his date of birth, interests, and what band he is in, and where he was born. Throughout the creation of my double-page spread, I attempted to create an aesthetic to it that reflected the content of the article. As you can see here, this is an image of Gillis standing in the foreground, and in the background there's a tube passing by. And the article was about Gillis Geary, who was about to set on his Europe tour, and it was to start in London. And this is one way I connected it, because the location of the shoot was in the London Underground. And as you can see in the background of the right-hand side of the DPS, there's a Union Jack, which is another way I linked back to the article. In addition, there's leading text here to lead the reader into reading the article, and the picture credit here, which are both conventional in itself. In this image, I wanted to show another side to Gillis, and it kind of creates a punkish side to him. And I guess one element that challenged convention is the use of crumpled rustic paper here, which is not usually seen. And yeah. Additionally, the eye flow is a C shape, which is very conventional. And also the pull quote here contains a swear word, and it's very controversial in its tone. And the use of a pull quote is widely used in magazines to obviously pull readers into reading it. And through this eye-catching pull quote, which kind of contains provocative language, I interested the reader enough into reading the whole article. Okay, this is my table of contents. The editorial pillars are here, here, and here. Those are very conventional, but throughout my table of contents, I want to adopt a simplistic approach. As you can see, this table of contents, enemies, is very crowded, very busy, and very cluttered. And here I wanted to let the visual side of it, the images, dominate the contents page, and so that there wasn't as much writing and it didn't feel so crowded. Throughout, I used strong color contrast through the use of black and white for the editorial pillars, and the use of an editor's letter is another way I conform to convention, because it's usually seen in table contents, but not in enemies. One way I didn't conform to convention was excluding a subscription box. And the content hints at a total musical emphasis of the magazine, because magazines such as the Fader will concentrate on design and fashion as well. But I wanted my magazine to just be totally musically based. Okay, the second question was, how does your media product represent particular social groups? Okay, this is Gilla's. This is the front cover image. I was inspired by Enemies cover, where Liam Gallagher is not looking directly into the cover. It's kind of like he's repelling against the audience. He doesn't want their attention. But given the fact that he's on the front cover, it kind of juxtaposes that idea. When we talk about rock as a genre, you often think of rebellious artists and of a common phrase, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And this is one way, this kind of cover emphasizes that. I use aviator sunglasses because I think they're kind of edgy, and they can represent a mask for the model, so that it insinuates a certain mystery to them that the audience might find fascinating. The use of clothing, especially the use of a Punisher t-shirt, was purposely meant to be in a way intimidating. The print of a skull on the t-shirt represents death, which is a recurring theme in many rock songs. Also, I used a tattoo sleeve to convey the model's rebellious, sort of punkish attitude, as well as his youth, as tattoos are most popular with young people. Okay, so this is my main target audience. The age is 15 to 25, because my aim was to create a mainstream rock magazine about discovering new rock talents. Usually people in their late teens and early 20s are more open to in their taste in music, and therefore they're more open to discovering new rock talents. I thought the student demographic was, for my magazine, very important, because they totally represent that sort of group. Main reason why I chose a male target audience was because rock music is dominated by male bands, therefore has more of a male fan base. Majority of the models used were males, and most of the artists included on the front cover and featured were all male bands such as Kasabian. I chose a middle class because middle class people are kind of like mainstreamers. They like conventional products that don't stray away too much from the norm. There's a mixture of formal and informal language. However, there is a problem with the NRS model for the ABC1 profile, because I wanted to include students, but they're in the E class, and Yeah. Main reason why it's rock is because band features are definitively rock bands such as the Black Keys and the Kings of Leon. Therefore, the audience must have a taste for rock music. The main reason why I chose the lifestyle as a music prosumer consumer is because Kerrang has a similar audience to my magazine Crash, and in their reader profile they say that their readers are more likely to go to gigs, to buy CDs and go to festivals, and yeah. I used these models for one of the images on my table of contents. I think they reflected my target audience. Their age, they look like young adults, and therefore they look like people who are just emerging in the music scene. As you can see here, he is wearing a jumper that says "Music Liberates," and he's obviously passionate about music because of what he's wearing. And the words "Music Liberates" suggest a belief in the power of music. The pullover here has the band name Brand New printed on it. Brand New is one of the rock bands that my audience would listen to. Altogether, use of these models and clothing represent my audience, as music has an integral part to both these guys' lives, and in my target audience, it would too. Okay, let's talk about what the underground sign means to you. To you and me, it might just be a sign that you look at every time you go to school in the morning and when you're going back to home. But actually, it's a symbol of London, and therefore it's a symbol of an urban area. You can see here how I used in my photo shoot the London Underground as a symbol for urban area, and this is connected to my target audience because my target audience are urban. The use of the underground as a location in my photo shoot confirms the modern setting. The use of a hoodie also, which Gilles is wearing here, is definitively an urban piece of clothing. And therefore, altogether, these show that my target audience is urban. Third, what kind of media institution might distribute your media product and why? I looked at IPC Media and Bauer. They're mass, multi-platform, mainstream conglomerates in the magazine industry. IPC produces over 60 media brands, and it's said to be the UK's leading publisher. It publishes both magazine and digital platforms, and has a very wide audience as it reaches 26 million adults in the UK. However, they have NME, which would, if I picked them, it would really be bad for my magazine, as NME has a similar audience to Crash. Then I looked at Bauer. It publishes over 300 magazines, publishes in 15 countries, platforms in TV, radio, online, and mobile. They reach over 90 million adults in the UK. But their biggest emphasis is on the magazine and radio sectors. And they're both connected. If I chose them, there would be such a really good link with radio. If Crash became a radio station, that would be really good in terms of media convergence. Full Music is one of the biggest music channels, and Bauer owns that channel, and it would provide an opportunity for Crash to be promoted on this channel. However, again, they have a similar sort of audience with Kerrang and Q. They're both music magazines, and I think there would be some form of cannibalism if I chose Bauer. So, what publications I did choose was Future Publications. They already publish music magazines such as Guitar World and Classic Rock, so they obviously have experience in producing music magazines. However, the target audience in these two magazines kind of skew a slightly older, more creative audience due to more formal language used and the emphasis on established rock such as Jimi Hendrix and Green Day. Therefore, I think Crash is a place to fill in Future's portfolio, because a focus on emerging music is not present in any of the present music magazines that Future publishes. Additionally, the fact that they also publish online means media convergence with the internet by creating a site for Crash is very possible, and in terms of that, they would find a wider audience for Crash. The fourth question was, who would be the audience for your media products? Well, I looked at the audience for Kerrang because they have a similar sort of vibe. They have a rockish attitude, and I think that in terms of what they are, Crash is very similar. However, Crash has a frequency of being monthly. It's a monthly circulation. Kerrang targets late teens and early 20s, as seen by the mean age of the reader being 22. The ABC One profile is 52%, which means they probably don't attract the A class as much as the B, C1, and C2 classes, which are their most popular audience. Again, the reader loves music, is a frequent gig goer, and are heavy musical consumers. Okay. I chose this class because I thought that Crash would really target the middle classes, but the fact is there's a problem with the NRS social grade being in that the E group, a large demographic of mine, the students, wouldn't be accepted. So if I defined a Crash in a psychographic model, I would think that aspirers and mainstreamers and explorers would form the largest part of the audience. This was because aspirers seek status, and they'll also be able to see aspiring artists here who may mirror the aspirations of the reader. Aspirers are usually a younger audience that also connects to Crash. Mainstreamers seek security, and my product already follows conventions closely, and therefore I'd be able to secure that market. Explorers seek discovery. I think Crash would be very good in finding an audience for explorers because a high portion of their magazine is dedicated to discovering new acts in the rock genre. I think there's a gap in the market to capture explorers who have a passion for music, especially rock. My fifth question, how did you attract and address your audience? Well, I attracted and addressed my audience through a variety of features. In here, through clothing, here through local language, and here through artists featured. The conventional pose of a direct eye contact is not used, and sometimes the direct eye contact is able to persuade the audience. But I think the fact that it's breaking convention fascinates the audience more, and the audience asks themselves, why is this guy not looking directly into our eyes? Why is he looking away? Is there something hidden with him? Is there a mystery? And I think there is. The use of colloquial language such as backstage and exclusive attracts my target audience and insinuates behind-the-scenes content that the reader could only gain from my magazine. Additionally, I used these bands because when I did my questionnaire, I chose the rock bands that people liked most, and these were included. As the majority of the participants were aged 16 to 17, an age group that overlaps with my own target audience, I decided that using the bands mentioned would be a way of addressing my audience. With my table of contents, I think I attracted my audience with a simple but strong layout. The color contrasts are quite striking. The use of red, black and white, I think, is really solid, is really strong. And featuring an article about Reading Festival was another way I addressed my target audience, as the majority of Reading Festival goers are between 15 to 25. The editor's letter here is a way of personally addressing the audience because the audience feels that there's a more personal connection between the magazine and the audience. And there's a use of direct address here with the constant use of the word you. Throughout these images, I wanted to create a variety of content in the magazine, and these were the images I used for my table of contents. All these photos emit a different quality, with this one kind of providing a detached and intimidating feel to it, while this one gives a bit more intimate and kind of romantic feel to it, and this one provides a cheeky quality. This showed a variety of artists that I included in the magazine. Additionally, I wanted to maintain consistency with the front cover, where Gilles Geary was the model, and remain consistent in the priority of the articles, as usually the cover model will have the largest image in the contents page. What have I learned about technologies from the process of constructing this product? Well, I used a variety of different technologies, and usually ones that were new to me. SlideShare, Blogger, and Microsoft. Well, SlideShare and Blogger were ones that I'd never used before. Excel, I had some knowledge of it, but I think during the course of this course, I developed my skills in Excel. For SlideShare, I learned how to upload and then embed my production work and my research work, and I was able to easily publish them online. And on Blogger, which was my first blog, I was able to post all my research work online through that. On Excel, I was able to create graphs of my results of the questionnaire. But without a doubt, Photoshop was the one I advanced in more in terms of my skills. As you can see here, I use a rectangle tool in Photoshop to create the background for my editorial pillars in my table of contents. Additionally, you can see here on my front cover I used the Punisher t-shirt, but in order to create a better link throughout the front cover between my colours, I wanted to colour in the skull as red. So what I did, I chose the paint bucket tool and filled that in and filled it in and filled it in until most of the skull was filled in. And I changed the opacity down to 90% because I wanted to see some of the ridges in the actual skull which is present. And additionally, I used iPhoto at home to import, export, and slightly edit photos. Looking back at my preliminary task, what do you feel you have learned in the progression from it to the full product? Well, as you can see, I think there's such a stark difference between my preliminary task and final task. I think in my preliminary task, I only had basic skills with Photoshop, and I developed them very much. So between the time I made the preliminary and the time I finished doing the full task. I think here you can see that the cover masthead is very much stronger, very much more emphasized, and I think throughout my production work, I learned that the stronger the image, the easier to work around that image and for the overall design of the cover to appear. I think bright colours were able to attract here the audience more so than here, whereas because the use of purple is very, very rarely seen in magazines. As you can see, I feel that there's loads of unused space here. I don't think it feels very much crowded and doesn't feel as conventional as my full product does. I learned how to use line spacing here to make the lines and the text seem tighter, which I didn't know here. In my table of contents, I feel that here I really didn't do well. I didn't really understand how to create a table of contents. You can see here that the editorial pillars don't really stand out, and there's not an editor's letter, and it's very, very spare there, and doesn't have a much conventional approach to it, and it doesn't really look good. It doesn't really look like the final table of content should. And here you can see that there's bolder, more eye-catching images. There's a starker color contrast, and the editorial pillars stand out more. And throughout my production work, I planned my images more before. Throughout the creation of these products, I was more aware of my target audience, and I think it really shows here that I was really embracing that rock vibe. I also feel that throughout all my production work, I was able to be more consistent was the use of red and black and white was throughout the production work. And yeah, thank you for listening. Any questions?
Can you go back to your double-page spread or any of your slides? And I just want you to talk me through your use of language. If you can pull out specific examples where you've talked about colloquial language or...
Well, I think throughout I had a more casual and formal register. I think that I had a register that fell between both of them. I think the pull quote has a very controversial tone which speaks to a younger audience because they like controversy. And throughout the interview I had with Gillers and throughout this article, there was sort of conversational feel to it. He used words or phrases such as "I guess" and that, while he was being very open in his speech. And I think that this open quality addressed the audience and attracted them to the article, and yeah.
Okay. And why did you think it was necessary to break convention in some cases then?
Well, I think the main reason I wanted to break convention was I wanted to really show his punkish side. I think the very unconventional use of paper for the background and crumpled and rusted paper was to kind of convey this punkish side. I felt that it did, and I felt that perhaps the audience do so as well. But throughout this, I don't really think I broke that many conventions. I still have a credit here, a page number, and I still have an anchor here. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.